Let's get to today's market action and this record close with Evercore ISI Senior Managing Director Julian Emanuel. Julian, it's great to have you on, and that's exactly where I'm going to start with you because we're largely through earnings season here. We know the Fed is on hold. Washington seems to be what Washington is right now. Are you surprised to see us back at these record levels? What drives us from here in either direction?
Yeah, so it is surprising that if you look at the news of the last week on the economic front, between the weaker than expected retail sales and the stronger than expected inflation, which, of course, as we know, throughout this almost 2.5-year-old bull market, the market has focused intently on the inflation narratives and the back and forth there. It is surprising that we are breaking out to new highs here. But it really speaks to the resilience of the bull market in general and this idea that if you're a long-term investor, right, this is one of these times where you should just sort of put your portfolio aside and take heart of the fact that bull markets don't end in specifically overvaluation alone, and that earnings season has proven to have been good and sets the table very positively for 2025.
Well, we talked about the fact that Meta has just ended its record winning streak here to finish the day slightly lower. But it does perhaps speak to the role that big tech, mega cap tech, has been playing more recently in this market, as it's not just the S&P 500, but the NASDAQ 100 has played a mighty game of catch up and is also trading at record highs.
Right. And then actually, if you look at today's tape, the equal weighted S&P 500 did very, very well. Look, if something goes up 20 days in a row, you'd be foolish not to expect there to be a pullback at some point. But when you look at it, though, the momentum from point to point in this market in general, and you know, going back to sort of the election where some of those election type stocks really ran for days and days and days, that's been a hallmark of this bull market, and basically trying to short things before their time has been a very difficult and painful game to play.
Yeah, looks like it's been painful for some folks. Well, Julian, let's zoom out and look at the macro again for a moment, particularly when it comes to inflation. Is it plausible at this point to believe that cheaper energy prices are going to wipe out inflation, as President Trump argued during the campaign? Or is it more plausible that tariffs are going to keep inflation sticky or even make it worse?
Well, cheaper energy prices by themselves are not likely to wipe out inflation. And in fact, what you're seeing now is that foodstuffs, coffee, cocoa, eggs, cattle prices are really surging, whereas energy itself has remained, very muted. But what we would say there is the potential for energy prices to remain muted or perhaps even drift lower if you get a geopolitical outcome that's viewed as favorable by the markets. It changes the psychology on behalf of investors and consumers because energy is the most important psychological input to inflation. So it may not drag us materially closer to that 2% core PCE, but it certainly will put us headed back towards that direction, which we think is an eventuality.
Okay, no rescue from energy, but maybe no doom either. So now to the AI market, which has been a big part of what's driven many of the mega caps, certainly NVIDIA now. What do you think is holding that story up as we look ahead to NVIDIA earnings next week? I mean, the mega caps have kind of been passing the baton between them. Even though there's been some broadening, it's not like those big guys have given up the ghost.
Well, but again, the bigger picture is every single day there's a new headline with regard to a new AI startup. And in the final analysis is if you think about the internet revolution, two things went on. As it became clear that it became more important in terms of people's everyday lives, you had this sort of multiplier effect to the use of it, to the business applications. And we're in the stage now where corporate America knows that they have to engage in AI because it is part of people's everyday life. And the DeepSeek news tells you that the demand is going to rise and that things are going to happen at an all-in cheaper price. And that is very bullish for the future.